Today, we become legends.
Hey, my name's Inter, and welcome back to Inter Games, and today we're going to be reacting to Weak3n reacting to the video that I put out on my main channel pretty recently about Smite's most and least skilled gods. If you haven't seen the video, definitely do go check it out, but basically I polled my audience on what they think are the most and least skilled gods, and created a video out of it, averaged out all the scores, and made like a top 10 list, the hardest and easiest of each class, all that kind of stuff. We'll go over it as we go through this reaction. But yeah, this is the kind of topic that I just absolutely love seeing other people's opinions on. It's part of the reason why I created this video. You know, I wanted to see what the general opinion of this topic was and how it differed from mine. And Weak3n has given his opinion as well, and some people from his chat and stuff like that as well. So I thought it was really interesting. I thought I'd just react to it and give my thoughts on it as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump in.
So this is Smite's most and least skilled gods. He did a video on this.
I surveyed hundreds of my
audience. I actually put up a title for Ul being the hardest god in Smite, and all the comments were saying Ul is not the hardest god in Smite, he's easy. And I went through and responded to everybody that said that and said, what's your in-game name? I'd love to watch your last Ul game. And none of them gave me their in-game names.
Members to find the yeah, dude, this is going to be a bit of a theme throughout the video. Me and Weak3n have a pretty differing opinion on Ula. We'll get more into it later as we actually get into the data about Ula, but yeah, that is going to be a theme here. Simple question. Which are the highest and lowest skilled gods in Smite? I asked everyone who took part to rate every Smite god from 1 to 5 based on how hard or easy they are.
That's a lot of gods to rate.
It is, and I appreciate the people that did it. I then averaged out all the responses into a single number for each god. Let's take a look at that data. So first up, class averages. Here's the results. Guardians came out on top with an average score of 2.76 out of 5, very closely followed by...
Okay, this already tells me that whoever he's polling is fucking stupid.
Listen. Don't roast my audience
being more skilled is crazy stupid. And then warriors are the second. Oh no, the warriors, they have warriors are the lowest.
Yeah, I honestly, if I'm going to give my own personal take on this, obviously this was just data collected from my audience. I don't think Guardians overall are the most skilled class. I think there are some very high skill cap Guardians, but there are also a lot that don't really take too much. I think Assassins definitely should have taken this spot. Other than that, though, I would swap Assassins and Guardians around, but other than that, I think I do agree mostly with the placements of them here. I think Mages are about in the middle. I think Warriors are at the bottom. And Hunters and Warriors being pretty close is also something I agree with, because there are plenty of... Like, there's more overall higher skill cap hunters, in my opinion. Like, there are some that are really up there, kind of like Ula and like Heim and stuff like that. Whereas there aren't really any warriors that require an absolute crap load of skill. There's just some that require like a little bit of skill. But the thing is, like, most hunters, if you can play one hunter, you can play every single fucking hunter in the game, except for the few that are like really high skill. So that's kind of what drags hunters down a little bit. Whereas, like, at least with warriors, they have different play styles and you have to have a different skill set for each one. Whereas with hunters, they have some really ones that are high up there, but they also like have a good chunk of that class that if you can play one of them, you can just play every single one, and it just takes hit basic attacks.
So at least they got part. This is crazy though. What the fuck, dude? All right, hold on. We gotta get into this.
Assassins, then a decent drop off to Mages at 2.54, followed by Hunters at 2.38, and finally Warriors as the least skilled class overall at 2.35, just behind Hunters. Moving on, let's talk about some
Warriors do take no skill, bro.
100%. Fared over the years in terms of skill. As a Warrior main, I'll agree. The most really noticeable takeaway from this data is that Season 6 completely knocked out of the park in terms of skill testing god releases. With a score of 3.35, they're far enough.
All right, this is kind of troll because Persephone is not a skill issue. It's a reading issue. It's a comprehension issue.
I will kind of agree with that, but Persephone actually wasn't rated that highly with this data. It was Yamoja and Set that were mostly dragging these results up, and Merlin to a certain extent. Persephone actually wasn't one of the higher ones placed from Season 6.
Yorm, Horus, and Set are super free. Olaron is just an alt bot. Merlin and Yamoja, I would say, are hard. So, you know, I don't know about the others. I don't remember the other releases, but
clearing this the second place, Season 8 by more than 0.5 points. These results were dragged up quite a bit by Yamoja and Set, who scored extremely high, but honestly...
Set scored high? Okay, so whoever voted is stupid as fuck.
Season 6 outside of Jormungandr scored really highly here. The lowest skill roster overall came out to be closed beta, which makes sense since this includes the original 17 gods.
Yeah, there's 17 gods, so it's going to pull it down no matter what.
Simple than late releases. Year 10 actually came quite close here though with 2.31, only 0.03 points behind closed beta. Alright, moving on to single behind closed beta.
Okay. Okay. I mean, Bake, release Mammon, release Marty, Surtur, Karan are all pretty easy. Okay.
So I think this is one area where me and we can clearly differ. There is another major area where we differ in our opinions on like what makes a god difficult, but this is one of them, I think, based on what he said here. He seems to think that the god being overpowered instantly means the god is easy, and that's not really something I take into account. Like, I'm also looking at the god like in a vacuum. I'm not thinking about, you know, is this god completely broken? Because obviously if the god's broken, it's easier to get wins on that god, but balance changes so frequently, and these videos are meant to be made sort of a little bit more timeless. I don't really consider like whether the god is completely broken or completely trash, unless it's literally something inherent within their kit. Like, for example, with Maman, her kit hasn't changed. She's just been nerfed down into balance. And so nothing has really changed, in my opinion, for how difficult Maman is. She's just been nerfed down into like a more reasonable state. Obviously, if the kit got minorly reworked or whatever and changed, then that would make a difference. But yeah, with the way he said release Maman and release Marty, like obviously, yeah, playing a broken release god is going to be easy, but I'm also looking at like the actual kit of the god, and like in my opinion, Marty Karas is pretty fucking easy. Maman is actually one that probably dragged this data upwards a little bit and probably pulled it above closed beta, because pretty much every other single god in year 10 that was released is completely brain dead.
Actually, I agree with that.
Alright, moving on to single god data though.
They're all pretty fucking easy.
Let's take a look at the highest and lowest skill gods from each class. Kicking it off with assassins, the most skilled assassin overall was Set with an impressive score of 4.13 out of 5.
Bro, who voted on this? What? Okay, just in general, this is just wrong. Like, this is just blatantly wrong. If I post up 100 players on Circuit and I post up 100 players on Set, the Set games will always have higher KDAs and have more fucking wins. The percentage will be dramatically higher. So whoever voted Set is just, they either don't play jungle or they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Because there's literally no world where...
I do agree to a certain extent with this opinion, but I also think he is looking at it from the perspective of like where he plays at. Like, I think if you did poll people playing Circuit and Set in like Masters and Grandmasters, the Set games would be significantly better. High level Set players always completely dominate. The god is just inherently has a stronger kit than Circuit in my opinion, and will do better. But I do think at a more mid level and especially at a low level, Circuit is actually easier to get into than Set. We'll get more into this later, but Weak3n's seems to view like god difficulty in a different way to the way I view it, which I think causes our difference in opinion. He really looks hard at like, is the god mechanically difficult to play? Like, does the god have really hard to hit abilities? That kind of stuff. Whereas I look at it, I do look at that for sure. That is definitely a big aspect of what makes a god difficult. But I also look at like, do they have a complex game plan? Do they have drawbacks that they have to work around and you have to play a little bit differently with? Do they have generally complex abilities or lots of abilities or different parts of different abilities that you have to manage and stuff like that? Like, I look at it a bit more broad overview rather than just, is this god mechanically difficult? And like, yes, Circuit is mechanically difficult, especially with the 2, and Set is not particularly mechanically difficult, but I think he does have a bit more of a complex game plan and also has a lot more decisions to make on like when you want to go in. Like, if you just completely WK everyone all the time on Set, you're actually gonna have a bad time, in my opinion.
I mean, dude, that's just, like, even Lancelot, bro. Like, Circuit and Lancelot are immensely harder.
This is also another place where I disagree with Weak3n, actually. How is Lancelot difficult? I really don't get that. I play a ton of Lancelot. He's one of my most played assassins, but I really don't see how he's that difficult. Like, if we're talking purely about mechanics, Lancelot doesn't really have anything that's particularly hard to hit. His ult can be, I guess, if you're in like close range, but he doesn't really have anything too mechanically difficult. His game plan's also pretty simple. Like, the only skill really with Lancelot is like using his 3 effectively. I don't know, dude. Like, I would not say Lancelot is harder than Set. I probably also wouldn't say Lancelot's harder than Circuit either, though.
Skilled in Set. I'm so confused.
The least skilled assassin is probably no surprise to anyone, and that's Arachne with a pitiful score.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But there's no world Set as the highest. That's just potato, I believe.
Again, is probably no surprise. Also, I'll just quickly mention it here in case you haven't seen the video. This is obviously polling data from my audience. This isn't what I'm talking about in this main video that Weak3n is watching. Is not my own opinion, but obviously in this video, I'm giving my own opinions a little bit more over the top of it. To anyone who's looked at her win rates across the ranks,
I agree with that.
She came in at a whopping 4.6.
Yeah,
I think it'd be hard to not agree with you on the hardest god.
Set is not hard. Set is a W key god. You don't even think. You hold left click, and while you're left clicking somebody, without even looking, you're just spamming 2. And then when you want to burst them, you press 1. That's it. There's no other thought process. That's it. That's literally it. You either can't read, you either don't read, or you don't listen if you can't do that, because that's all you have to do.
Is averaged out from hundreds of responses. She also had by far the most total 5 out of 5 ratings. The least skilled Guardian is of course Bake Kujira at 1.41, which might have a tiny bit of recency bias thrown in there, but even without that,
I'd say that's up there. He's bad now though.
Overall, but Bake Kujira
he was just too easy to play on launch or on release.
Brain dead easy he is to play. That's the thing though, he's still super easy on release. Like this is another thing where like I feel like Weak3n takes into account like how strong the god is at the moment based on how easy they are to play. And for me, I just really don't look at that. I try to look at the god's kit, you know, individually, like assume the god is balanced and then look at it from there. Because obviously, if a god's completely broken, they can seem easy to play. But then if I do that in this kind of a video and then 2 months later they get Omega nerfed and they're trash, like does that mean the god's harder to play? Like technically yes, it will be hardest to get wins on that god, but I try and look at it a little bit more objective and timeless rather than going on like how strong they are in the current meta, because things just change so much. Like that kind of approach works in a more stagnant game. You know, if you're looking at like Super Smash Bros. Melee or even Super Smash Bros. Ultimate to a certain extent, like those games don't change anywhere near as much as a game like SMITE would change. And you can definitely take whether a god is good or bad into how hard they are to play in those kind of games, because they really don't change that much. But SMITE, not only does the meta just change on its own, but also buffs and nerfs and stuff like that can really change how strong someone is. Like inherently nothing changed in Bake Kujira's kit. He's just as easy to play now as he was on release. It's just yeah, you would get more wins on release because he was more of a power, but I try not to consider that. So Ula took the cake for the most skilled.
It's an old game, obviously. It's really not hard to play an ADC with 3 spacing tools on low cooldowns. Ul is not the hardest god. Am I the only one that thinks Ul is actually easy to play? Bro, what rank are you fucking potato asses? There's more? Oh, that's all I responded to. There is more though.
I think he goes more into detail on Ula when I actually go into like the highest and least skilled gods, so I won't go too much into it here. But we do have a little bit of a differing opinion on Ula. I do think he's hard, don't get me wrong. I think I would definitely put him in top 20, and I might even put him in top 10, potentially. But I'd have to look at like who else would be in top 10 and whether I would actually think he deserves a spot there. But like obviously Weak3n thinks he's like top 3 minimum, maybe even top 1.
At least they got that right. I give, you know, at least we got that right in this video so far.
Overall with a score of 3.82 out of 5, which was...
There's no world where Heim is harder. Heim is worse. That's the difference. Heim is a worse god. Heim's kit is limited as to what it could do because the ult fucking sucks. The 2 is probably the best ability outside of the 3, but for damage abilities, the 2 and the 1 suck for damage.
See, this is more like what kind of I mean. Like his kit inherently has flaws. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with this on Heim. I do think Heim is probably easier than Ula, but not by like an absolutely massive amount in my opinion. I think Heim is quite difficult, especially in the context of hunters. But yeah, like looking at, does this kit have specific limitations? Are there things you cannot do with this kit that you're gonna have to work around? I'm not necessarily looking at like, oh, does Heim's ult do 1,000 damage or does it do 500 damage? That's not particularly what I'm looking at.
His whole kit and like the way they set it up just suck.
Surprisingly high and
where Ul's entire kit is mechanical skill. The entire kit is mechanics. You have to literally aim, pinpoint aim most shit. It is what it is.
The full 0.5.
I agree with Duel. Heavily agree.
That's the thing. I guess we'll get into it now. Like, Weak3n really does look at like mechanical skill as like pretty much the only determining factor on whether a god is hard. You know, Ula does not really have a complex game plan. It is just get in position and hit axe. That is pretty much all he's looking for. He doesn't really have to think too much. You just play carry. Really, the only thing that's difficult about Ula is his mechanics. Yes, his mechanics are some of the most difficult in the game. I completely agree with that. And he's obviously one of those gods that requires you to play on instant cast, which overall makes it a little bit more difficult, harder to aim, especially if you're not used to playing on instant cast. But I think that's just the difference between me and Weak3n. Like, I look at it from a more like broad perspective of like what causes difficulty in a god, whereas Weak3n is purely looking at like mechanics. You know, is this god mechanically difficult? Do they have skill shots that are incredibly hard to hit? Do they have high APM and stuff like that? And obviously Ula fits that description. So I can completely understand where Weak3n's coming from. If that is the perspective you have on what makes a difficult god, then yes, Ula would definitely make my top 3 if that was my perspective. It's just I look at it a little bit differently, I think. and her. The least skilled hunter was Izanami with a score of 1.4. Now, like for example, Umoja I think is significantly harder than Ula, and that is because not only does Umoja have some hard mechanics within her kit, she also has an insane amount more decisions to make than Ula, and also a much more complex game plan. Which does make sense given how the god.
Pretty clear. That's pretty much what you tell new players to play, so they can just get pressure.
Yeah, Izanami's the best new hunter,
Oh,
100%. And that's the Morrigan with an average score of 4.49 out of 5. Of course, this comes.
Okay, I don't agree with this. I get where it's coming from, and I get the argument, but I don't agree with this. The argument is, well, if you play Morrigan, you have to know every god in the game. That is not the fuck how that works. So Morrigan's best swaps, especially into the late game, are you engage with your regular kit, you try to one-shot somebody, and you swap it to a tank. So you need to know how to play Warriors and Guardians. They don't have it like this. They do, like, Warriors and Guardians are easy to play. There's very little skill on most of them. So you should always have a free god to swap into that is hyper tanky. So I don't agree with this.
Almost entirely from. Yeah, with the Morrigan, it's always a difficult one because, like, it also depends on, are you looking at skill floor? Are you looking at some kind of realistic skill level? Or are you looking at maximum skill ceiling? Because Morrigan's maximum skill ceiling is undebatably the highest in the entire game, in my opinion. Like, but her realistic skill ceiling, where, like, you're going to get to a point where you are incredible with the god, but you're not necessarily maximizing it, that level is, like, not as difficult as people would say. As we can said, you need to be able to transform into tanks to keep yourself safe once you've dived into the backline with your regular kit and not instantly die, because Morrigan's base kit can almost one-shot someone, so if you just ult into a tank, you can probably finish them off and then live. But you also need to know a little bit of, like, mid and assassin transforms as well. Morrigan can be very good at doing that, transforming into junglers and mages, especially in the early game. She's very good for that. You know, Thor, Thanatos, Ra, you know, mid lane mages, that kind of stuff. You do need to learn a lot of transforms, and she is definitely one of the harder gods in the game. It just really depends on how you look at it. Like, her skill floor is quite high. Her skill ceiling is insanely high, but her realistic skill ceiling is not as high as people give it credit for. I will agree with that. Her ultimate requiring you to know how to play most, if not all, of the gods in the game to
I don't agree with that.
Full potential. The lowest skilled mage overall came out to be Kukulkan at 1.70, which I personally think is too low for this guy, and there are quite a few other mages.
I actually... This is, hold on, let me see. That is kind of low. Let me do a quick scan real quick. Like, skill wise, I don't, or low skill wise. Who else is anyone else just too easy? Like, okay, I would have said Nuwa, bro. I would have said Nuwa's easy.
Nuwa, yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Nuwa is 100% easier than Kukulkan. This is one that I just really didn't get when I was making the video. Like, Kukulkan is just not the easiest mage by a long shot, in my opinion. Like, Nuwa is easier, Changa is easier, Camera is hiding a little bit. Morgan Le Fay is probably easier than Kukulkan in my opinion. Poseidon, definitely easier than Kukulkan. Anubis, debatably. Mechanically, Anubis is quite easy and he doesn't have a complex game plan whatsoever, but he does have inherent issues in his kit that you have to work around, and that does add to his difficulty level. You gotta have very good positioning and stuff like that. But yeah, there are at least like 4 or 5 mages that I would say are easier than Kukulkan for sure.
I don't think Nuwa takes any true skill to be useful. I guess to be played perfectly, Nuwa takes more skill. But to be useful, Kukulkan can do the bare minimum. Like you have to hit an ult, which is kind of hard. Where Nuwa can literally just ult and hit everybody. I'd say Nuwa is probably the least skilled. I don't know. You can be relevant in every fight by pressing one button, no matter what.
That this guy is super easy to play.
He is easy to play. Cuckoo is easy to play.
Rated class in terms of skill, the Warriors. The most skilled of them was rated to be Tier at 2.98. An interesting result, not because of the god itself, but because of how much lower this is than all the other classes' offerings for most skilled. He sits almost a full 1 point below Ula, and
because Warriors are easy.
Points lower than Umoja. The least skilled.
Is it wild? Is Tier the most skilled?
I think Tier's definitely up there. I would say maybe Gilgamesh, Arthur, maybe Hercules are like the only ones I would look at to be harder than Tier, I think. Yeah, it is debatable though. I think like Tier, Gilga, Arthur, and Hercules are all on a roughly similar level. I think I would struggle to pick which one's harder out of those. Cue the people in the comments saying that Arthur's a brain dead easy spam god. He's not. But he's not
I actually agree with
difficult.
that.
No warriors are really, but
3 is even high probably. I would put Tier at like a 2, and then all the other gods are like 1s. Amma hard to play? No.
Armor's not hard to play.
Warrior overall came out to be Vermana at 1.49.
The only thing that's difficult about Armor is working around her lack of early game. That is pretty much entirely it.
Really not surprising in the least. Not only is he completely brain dead in his game plan of left click W, but he's also been terrorizing the meta very recently and is fresh.
Yeah, Vamana, as long as his ult's good, is the easiest.
The moment you've been waiting for.
Literally
the top 10
zero
most
skilled.
and least skilled gods in SMITE according to this data. Kicking things off with the top 10 least skilled, here's the list. A lot of these make complete sense to me, especially the bottom 4, which sit noticeably lower than the rest.
Okay, I don't agree with this. As I would have said Wukong is one of the harder warriors. Because you're 3, like that alone is one of the harder warrior abilities to use correctly and actually hit.
See, I've been pretty respectful this whole video, and I do respect Weak3n a lot as a content creator, and I appreciate him giving his thoughts on this. Wukong is not hard to play, dude. He's gonna get more into it later, so I guess we'll discuss it more later, but Wukong is not hard to play at all.
I would not put Wukong here, personally. I think they're going off the 1 being super easy to hit and like the ult keeping you alive, but that's every warrior has that. But usually warriors have more than 1 easy to hit ability.
Wukong does.
These are the easiest, the least skilled.
At below 1.5 out of 5. Neath rounds out the top 10 least
Wukong is brain dead? Bro. Achilles is brain dead. Amma is brain dead. Bologna is brain dead. All of these are brain dead.
A lot of warriors are pretty brain dead. I will agree with that. They're just brain dead fun fest. Achilles is, if you say Achilles is easier than Wukong to play, you're absolutely trolling in my opinion. Like, Weak3n also goes hard on some of my opinions in this video, so I'll go hard on one of his. Like, there's no shot Achilles is easier to play than Wukong. Like, Achilles isn't that difficult, don't get me wrong, but like, at least he has like air cancels with his 3, and hitting the ult can sometimes be difficult, and not getting it body blocks and stuff like that. Achilles isn't that difficult. I'm not saying that he is, but there's no shot he's easier than Wukong.
But at least Wukong has a actual ability that has a skill gap in landing. No one else, like you could argue Mulan's 3 maybe, but no one else.
Okay, I could probably name like 5 abilities here that have more skill testing abilities than Wukong's 3. Let's try. Hercules 2, harder than Wukong's 3 in my opinion. Achilles 3 with the air cancels is probably on a similar level, if not a little bit harder. It's not exactly hard to choose from one of 3 forms for Wukong's 3. Mulan's 3 is probably on a similar level to Wukong's 3, I guess. Gilga's ult to use actually properly is probably up there. And then Horus ult is probably up there as well. Like, don't get me wrong, plenty of these warriors are ridiculously fucking easy, but Wukong is definitely one of the easier ones just because of how easy his game plan is. All of his abilities are super easy to hit. I don't really get where Weak3n's coming from saying that the 3 is difficult to hit. It's not. All of his abilities are super easy to hit, and he's probably the safest god in the entire game, maybe outside of Jingwei.
Has a hard to hit ability. At all. And Nike, probably the easiest out of everybody. It's why Nike has had the highest win rate for fucking years.
To be fair, I do agree with that. I think Nike is one of the few that might be easier than Wukong. Nike is, because she's also ridiculously forgiving. She has a massive long dash. She can push you away with the barrier. She has the ult, obviously, which is very similar to Wukong's ult. Just gives you a second life, essentially. Nike is probably one of the only ones that I would say contests Wukong for easiness and might be below him.
Definitely an expected result. She's probably the first thing that comes to mind when someone says noob god, but does have some skill requirement in using the ultimate effectively.
Neath is hyper questionable, dude. I don't think Neath being on here makes any sense. Your ult's gonna get eaten by tanks all the time outside of early game, like outside of your your lane to lane ganks. Once you're grouping, tanks are eating every Neath ult. So I'm not. Most Neath players are.
I do agree that Neath is a little bit harder than most people give her credit for, because she is just the noob tutorial god that you see all the noobs play. But the problem is, like, a lot of those noobs feed on Neath because they don't know how to use the ult effectively. And if you're not using your ult effectively on Neath, you just got a base kit and you're not really doing all that much. Yeah, the ult gets eaten by tanks, but sometimes it doesn't if you're positioning correctly, and also you can just blow up tanks anyway. You can use Neath ult to pick off tanks pretty effectively, especially if they don't have beats.
Gets railed because the god is harder to play than they think.
With his kit being extremely simple to use, but does have that one skill.
No, Neath is not the easiest ADC to play.
Nah, he's an Nami's way easier than
not at all.
100%.
You're talking about like,
it's
easy to hit Neath 1 and 2. That is not how you play Neath. Like that does not get you a win. That doesn't make you do anything. And in team fights, you're probably just hitting the 1 on a tank, and it's hitting for 10. So I'm not sold on Neath either, bro. That's questionable as fuck.
Wukong is sensible too. He's probably the safest god in the entire game and is very hard to put.
I don't know about Wukong being the safest god of the entire game.
even if he makes
name someone safer, dude, except Jingwei. Jingwei is the only one I'll agree that is somewhat close to contesting Wukong and may even be easier than him. It depends on how you look at it. Not easier than him, sorry, safer than him. Wukong is just by far one of the safest gods in the game. His 1 has absolutely fucking ridiculous range and is unmissable, so you can very easily poke and clear the wave safely without putting yourself too out of position. His 2 has a very strong slow that helps with that as well. His 3, obviously, you can bird away from people, you can knock people away with the Ox. And then, of course, he has the ult as well, which gives him completely free, basically, second life.
His abilities are extremely easy to hit, and the only semblance of skill required is choosing the right form on his 3. Chak is similar, just a very basic kit with nothing too much to think about other than hitting your buttons. Nuwa makes sense as well, but honestly as a—
Bro, Wukong is not, because Wukong is building damage to be played in the solo lane. He's the only warrior that has to build damage to be relevant in the lane. If he goes full tech Wukong, he does nothing. So that makes him killable. Wukong is probably the easiest warrior to gank because of the required build. I know that because I'm a jungler. If I see a Wukong, I'm down to gank Wukong. Because he's going to go blue stun, and he's probably going to go with damage item first, so we can clear the fucking wave. And then he's going to go mainly damage and not tank, so we can...
Okay, so going Bluestone is pretty irrelevant because plenty of warriors go Bluestone or Axe. If you're not going Sigil, you basically have a, quote, damage item as your starter item in solo, and that's 95% of the time. So the Bluestone part is irrelevant. Yes, you might be going Soul Eater, or you might be going Runeforged, which don't give you any tankiness, and that can make you slightly easier to gank. But in my opinion, even a Wukong with Soul Eater is probably harder to gank than a lot of other warriors, even though they're building tank. Like, unless he literally doesn't have his ult and just burns his 3 before you go into gank, he's actually extremely hard to gank. I don't agree with this.
A little bit lower than I would have expected. She is extremely easy, don't get me wrong, but her lack of true mobility does require you to position yourself a little more carefully than some other mages. But I guess the ult sort of solves that.
Also, like, if you want to argue about Neith, Neith is one of the easiest ADCs to gank.
Yes, agree with that.
So how is he going to be easy to be played if you're just dying all the time?
I've talked about Kukulkan already, and I don't think he should be bottom 5 on this list given his lack of true...
There's no agreeing or disagreeing. I'm informing you that Wukong is the easiest gank because he's going to be Bluestone and he's going to be Jotuns or he's going to be Bluestone Runeforge. I'm telling you as a jungler, he is an easy gank. I'm not asking you. I'm informing you that if you are
I'm informing you that my opinion is different, Weaken. Like, even if he is going damage, which in my opinion, you don't have to go damage on Wukong to actually like clear the lane effectively. I think Bluestone does the trick for you for the most part. But yeah, damage is usually the good way to go with him. And also, if you are going Runeforged, Runeforged does give you... plenty of health as well. It's not like you're going an entirely damage item. But even in the case where like you're rushing into Jotuns or you're rushing into Soul Eater or something like that, I think Wukong is harder to gank than a lot of warriors that are going tank item first. Because a lot of other warriors, if you can catch them out when they don't have like their movement and they can't get back to tower, you can kill them. It might take you like 5 seconds, whereas it might take you like 3 seconds to kill a full damage Wukong. But the thing is, you're not getting on a Wukong for 3 seconds unless you literally have like an insanely good matchup into him and you can CC chain and like pull him out of his bird or something like that. You're just not killing Wukong super effectively unless you're literally CC chaining him so that he can't possibly get his ult off. If he gets his ult off, you're basically fucked. He can stay up there and heal if he wants to, or he can immediately jump down and then bird out, and you're probably not getting to him. Like, unless you have a really good matchup, I don't think you're ganking Wukong as free as like Weaken's claiming it is here.
You will kill Wukong. You will go gank that lane. His ult does not keep him alive because you don't just magically ult when I blink CC you. Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah, unless your blink CC lasts like 3 seconds,
where
because like even when he's building full damage, you're not killing him in like 1 second flat. So unless your CC is extremely long or your CC chaining him, he will get his ult off. Like, don't get me wrong, Weaken is making a good point here. I think a lot of people don't consider that he is kind of a little bit forced into going damage early game, and that does make him slightly easier to gank than you would think. You know, it's not like he's a typical solo lane attack, he does with the extra mobility and the free ult and stuff like that. But I think even with that considered, Wukong is far from the easiest solo laner to gank.
Like, the people aren't playing against you. That's, if we're just talking about base abilities and we're not talking about how the game's played, we're not talking about how lanes play, we're not talking about builds, then we shouldn't even having the conversation, because those are all parts in deciding whether a god is easy or bad, or, you know, good or bad, or easy or hard.
Mobility,
it's real hard if everyone's, or real easy if everyone stands still and doesn't fucking move. Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
and somewhat difficult skill shots compared to other mages, but he does make the bottom 5 on this list. Izanami makes complete sense given she basically plays herself for the entire early game. The mana is an obvious one as well. His base kit is extremely simple and his ultimate is literally just press it and hold left click W for the win. Not much skill to that. Bake is another left click to win god but has the extra factor of being extremely tanky, which makes him more forgiving. And finally, Arachne takes the overall lowest skill god spot, which is once again a hold left click W and win for free style god.
You can play 10 games with someone calling and not die to a gank. In what bracket, bro?
Nah, that's trolling, dude.
I will tell you.
Like, that's some guy just trying to get a reaction, I feel like, in his chat. I would say trying to make that claim with any god is ridiculous. Like, you can't play 10 games and never die to a gank, dude. Because 5 of those games you're losing, and in one of those 5 games you're gonna die a few times to a gank. Like, it's just gonna happen. It doesn't even matter if you're playing Wukong. Like, you will die to a gank in 5 losses.
I'm coming and I will gank you. We can go play in the game right now. We can set up a lobby. I will type to you, I'm coming to kill you. I will fucking kill you. If you're clearing your lane, I will kill you. Bro, you dying once doesn't matter. If you miss 2 waves because you have to back every time you get ganked, that's a win. Dying or living is not how a gank is decided, bro. That's so small brained. Every time he ganked you, you back to base and miss a full wave. I watched you be 3 levels down.
Yeah, this is very much a mindset in solo lane as well. Like, if you can force someone out and back to base, that is absolutely a win. You do not necessarily need to get the kill. They're still going to miss a lot of farm for that.
You have 3 items. You were down like 3,000 gold. Those are ganks. Those are successful ganks. If he puts his teammate ahead on a gank, he doesn't have to kill you.
Yeah,
if you're backing and missing farm, you're taking an L.
Yeah, completely agree on that.
Bakasura didn't make the bottom 10 despite being very similar to these bottom 4. He actually took the number 12 spot. But with that covered, let's move into the top 10 highest skill gods in Smite according to the...
What the fuck is this?
I love the faces what you can make when you see something he disagrees with.
What the fuck? A Wheelix? Bro, you must have had some bronze bitches. You must have had Bliss voting on this, bro. What? What?
See, this is why this kind of a topic is such a great video idea, man. Like, people have real hot takes and opinions on this, and like, if you don't agree with them, they get real animated. It's great.
Highest skill gods set? Highest skill gods? Fucking Maui?
Dude, Maui's up there. Don't even try and claim
Maui's. At least Serket's on there. Like, that makes sense. And the Tiamat I can follow with, but god damn, what the fuck?
This data. Serket comes in first, just making the list at number 10. This does make sense given hitting her double madness.
This makes no sense.
Yeah, wait until he realizes that I would have placed Serket lower, dude. Yeah, he thinks it makes no sense because she's at number 10. She'll be at like number 5. Wait until he says I would only have her in my top 20.
Oh my voting, bro.
I do think she's a tad
even
overrated.
Now. Terra after, I mean, maybe this was probably done before the Terra change, but after the Terra change, Terra is not hard to play because your laning phase is so much easier than it ever was.
Giannis
I do agree Terra's a bit overrated.
But I think he should have been here in place of Serket. Cleaner is at number 9, which
Who did he just say?
Giannis, bro.
He should have been here in place of Serket. Given hitting her double madness is one of the hardest skill shots in the game, but I do think she's a tad overrated here. Giannis took the number 12 spot.
What?
I love Weak3n's faces, dude.
I'm trying to figure out how you say her ability is the hardest to hit ability in the game, double taunt of madness, and then follow that with she shouldn't be in one of the hardest skill gods.
See, this is the difference of opinion. One, in that, like, Weak3n is looking at it almost purely mechanically. Is this ability mechanically difficult to hit? Whereas I'm looking at other things as a proportion of that. But also, like, you don't need to be hitting double madness on Serket for the god to be played effectively. Like, even at a high level, you don't need to be consistently hitting double madness all the time, like every single cast, to be able to do insane work with this god. And if you take out the double madness, what is there that's really super difficult with Serket? Like, yeah, she is difficult, but if you take out the double madness, there's really not all that much that makes her super difficult. And double madness, yes, it's mechanically very difficult, but I don't think she necessarily needs that to be played effectively, even at a very high level. Like, I really don't think you need to be hitting that every single time.
Oh, but I think he should have been here in place of Serket. Cleaner is at number
no Janice in here, bro. This is all.
Yeah, no Giannis is wild. I do 100% agree with that. Like, Giannis definitely should have been in the top 10 somewhere.
He's placing her abilities correctly and or waiting for CC.
Cleo is not hard to play at all. Completely disagree. Would have put her way lower.
Team is really important.
She might not be in my top 10. I would agree with that, but she definitely does take some skill. Like, she's definitely not, like, in the bottom of Assassins or anything like that.
And of course, the wall mechanics are very hard to use to their full potential, and are something completely unique to her, which won't transfer over in terms of
Keep
skill.
in mind, this is an intersect video. This is not him rating them. This is him polling, I assume, his audience or maybe a Discord or something, and this is their rating.
My audience.
All the gods he played. Maui hits the number 8 spot, which I do agree with again. If anything, I think he should be a little higher here. He's a very...
The only thing hard about Maui is his ult, and it's not hard. It's to be really relevant on Maui, you need to be consistently hitting ults.
Yeah, see, I completely disagree with that. I'm probably going to explain it in the video itself, but the ult is pretty hard to hit. It's not like the hardest thing in the entire world to hit or anything. It's not like Circuit Double Madness or anything like that. But it is pretty difficult to hit, but you also have to think about where you're positioning it, you know, to try and get value with the landfall afterwards. Like block people off and stuff like that. There's a big difference between just being pulled in by Maui and being pulled in and then blocked from retreating back to your team. And it's kind of like your Moja in a certain way where you can separate the fight and like you get 2 of the enemy like with your whole team and then 3 of the enemy completely locked out from helping them. You can do that with Maui as well, and it is quite difficult to do that. But also the 2, like the 2 does somewhat rely on your teammates to have brains also, which is not really skill with Maui in itself. But I think the 2 does require quite a substantial amount of skill to place it correctly, and it's a very unorthodox ability. Like it's not something you would see on any other god.
And it's not hard to hit. I played like 2 Maui games in the past year, and I don't think I missed a single ult.
Unorthodox kit with the ones needing to be set up beforehand, which requires forethought and good game sense to know when it'll be needed rather than just reacting to something happening and having it come out immediately. Using the 2 effectively is a thing of beauty when you can take your teammates that don't have jumps over walls to save them or engage on the enemy team. And of course, his ult is not only hard to hit in general, but you also have to think about the placement more so than usual to make use of the island to trap enemies after the fact. Glad to see Maui make the top 10, but I personally would have placed him even higher. Terra takes the number 7 spot, which I do think is a little overrated. She's definitely not harder than Maui in my opinion, but there are plenty of skill testing elements in her kit, and she has a very unorthodox ultimate that is hard to get value out of, but if you do, it's extremely powerful.
All right, I appreciate Intersect a lot, but he just...
Appreciate you as well, Wicked.
That was just blatantly wrong. Terra's ult is probably the easiest ult to get value out of. It is a massive circle that hits your teammates and the enemy team.
So, I do agree that what I said here is like a little bit whack, but I will try and defend myself here. I am saying that it's hard to get a lot of value out of. I'm not saying it's hard to get value out of. It's pretty easy to just like see that a team fight has started and just press this and hit like maybe 3 allies and 2 enemies and get decent value out of it. But to have the positioning to hit, you know, as many enemies and allies as physically possible with this, and also to use it at the right time in the team fight so that like the heal doesn't like wear off on your allies or the damage doesn't wear off on the enemies and like allow them to disengage or whatever. Like I think there is some thought to using this ability, and it is very different compared to your typical like Guardian ultimate. That was mainly what I was trying to get across here. Like it's very different and difficult to use in comparison to like it's not your typical ability. But yeah, I will agree, like what I said here, the way I worded it is a little bit whack. Like it is not hard to get value out of this ultimate, you just press it, but I think it's hard to get like the absolute maximum out of this and like truly use it to its full potential.
You pretty much always get value out of Terra ult. It's pretty hard to not get value out of it. You'd have to miss. I don't. Yeah, okay.
Tiamat comes in at number 6, which makes complete sense. Being a stance switcher already puts a little extra burden on playing her, since you need to know 8
I'll agree with Tiamat. It's too many abilities for your average player to not fuck up and do shit up.
Have more simple
Just
Yeah,
like
I don't think you can disagree with Tiamat. Like, she's just hard in so many different ways. She's a knowledge check because of how ridiculously long her paragraphs on her abilities are and how many of them she has. She has some pretty difficult mechanical skill shots to hit as well. She has an extremely complex game plan. Her playstyle completely changes whether you're in ground stance with hardened scales or you're in flying stance or whatever. Like, I think there's, Tiamat is multifaceted in how difficult she is, in my opinion. I don't think you can disagree on the fact that she's one of the harder gods in the game.
Where the fuck is Merlin?
Yeah,
Merlin should have been on here for sure.
Merlin, I'll agree. I can't actually remember where Merlin is. Yeah, here's a look at the actual data for you guys. Where was Merlin? Oh, to be fair, Merlin was number 13. That's not too bad. I do agree that Merlin should be like a little bit higher, but I don't know how much more higher, because there's a lot of these that I wouldn't put Merlin above. I think 13 for Merlin's like reasonably fair. I might bump him up like a couple of places potentially.
As well, Janice, Merlin, like those are gods that just take too much brain power.
There's no way, there's no shot Giannis isn't top 10. Like an actual good Giannis, if you haven't seen one, you don't know, but like Giannis is so difficult to like maximize to his full potential.
Or for your average human being to play.
Many they have. Tiamat is not like this at all, as you can choose between 3 summons for her flying ult. She has her fair share of unique
even Hell now, especially with the healing change.
Buffs. The whole hardened scale.
People voting on this are trolling, bro.
When in ground stance.
I do feel like it's easier to look at this top 10 after the fact and say like, oh, this god should be here, this god should be here or something. But like, for example, Weak3n has probably said there are about 5 different gods that you think should be in the top 10. Is he going to remove 5 of these? Like, probably, right? I mean, he said he doesn't think Cleo should be there. He said he doesn't think Terra should be there. He said he doesn't think a Wheelix should be there. But like, maybe Maui as well. So he'd like remove those 4. He'd probably remove Set as well. But like, you've got to think about like, who would you remove from this actual top 10 to put all those gods in that you think should be there.
If anything, Tiamat is a little underrated at number 6 and definitely demands a lot from her pilot to be used effectively. Breaking the top 5 most
I love Intersex graphics and like the little things he does.
Yeah, I do put a lot of work into making my my videos look nice with the editing and stuff like that.
Abilities themselves are actually fairly simple. Her depth and skill comes from how you use them. The immunity frames on Feather Step, clever positioning to get knockups from the 3.
So that's min-maxing. That's not just like...
That's part of difficulty.
Like, we haven't talked about min-maxing on anybody here, really? Because, like...
That's because a lot of them don't have min-maxing. Like, most Smite characters really don't need to be min-maxed. Like, Wheelix is one of the few. Ula has it to a certain extent as well. But a lot of Smite's characters, there isn't really anything to min-max. They're just too simple. But yeah, min-maxing is, as I said, I look at difficulty as like a multifaceted problem. You know, there's min-maxing, there's mechanical skill, there's difficult abilities to hit, there's complex game plan, there's all this different stuff that goes into it.
If we are min-maxing Circuit, it's definitely the hardest in probably the game next to Ul.
Pulling from very short.
A Wheelix is easy. A Wheelix is very, very easy. You don't even have to hit knockups on a Wheelix. Other people can do it for you, and then late game you just pop your ult, blink, auto, 2, auto, they're dead.
Ups in melee range with her ult, knowing when to stay mounted and when to jump from Suku and put it on cooldown. There's definitely a lot that goes into playing a Wheelix effectively, and while I do think she isn't quite as hard as Tiamat or Maui, she definitely deserves to be in the top 10.
No, she doesn't.
Yeah, so basically, a Wheelix is a little bit overrated, is my thoughts here. Like, top 5 is definitely overrated for her. I would not put her top 5, but I think I would put her, like, maybe number 9 or number 10 or something like that. The thing with the Wheelix is she has a very low skill floor. She's extremely easy to get into. Her abilities are very simple, and you can kind of just understand her by playing her literally just once. But you won't know a lot of these, like, min-maxing tricks that I think definitely bring her difficulty up quite a bit. Like, you will definitely be able to notice an amateur Wheelix compared to, like, a pro Wheelix.
He shouldn't be in the top 20.
Which I was very surprised by. Don't get me wrong, Ula is fairly hard to play, but in my opinion, nowhere near top 4 hardest in the game.
So this is where we're going to have a disagreement.
Not the only god in the game that has true hard to hit skill shots for every ability?
I don't know about that, dude. I think that's a bit of an oversimplification of Ula. Like, the 3 raw, extremely hard to hit. The 1, it's just a line. In both stance I made. Like, the 1 is just a line. There's plenty of gods that have lines like that. And the axe also is just a line, but it can be body blocked as well, which makes it a little bit harder to properly land on people. I wouldn't say, like, the argument for Ula being difficult is that he has hard to hit skill shots. Like, it's mainly just the 3 in bow stance. Like, hitting that from long range is very difficult. I will 100% agree with that. But I think the difficulty in Ula comes from mechanical execution, like being able to rapidly stance change and have your abilities ready and do the combo effectively. Like, I think that's where the difficulty in Ula comes from. Like, yes, he has hard to hit skill shots. I'm not saying the 1 in both forms isn't hard to hit. It is, but plenty of other gods have lines like that that are just as hard to hit. I wouldn't say that's, like, particularly where Ula's difficulty comes from, in my opinion.
Am I trolling? Doesn't every god in the game have an easy to hit ability?
My own list, he probably wouldn't even make the top 10, to be honest.
That is insane.
By the way, what I meant by this is that he probably just wouldn't make the top 10. It's not like I'm saying he'd be number 50 or something. I think Ula would be top 15, 100%.
My guess.
But as I've said throughout this reaction, Weak3n looks at mechanical skill as like either entirely or a large portion of what makes a god difficult, whereas I only look at it as like a portion of what makes a god difficult. Yes, Ula's mechanical skill, if we're looking purely at mechanical skill, is probably like top 5 in the game. Maybe even top 3 in the game. But the thing is, like with Yamoja, for example, like Yamoja is mechanically quite difficult. Ula is mechanically harder than Yamoja. So if you're looking at it purely like that, I would 100% agree that Ula is probably one of the hardest gods in the game. The problem is Yamoja has like all this other stuff that she's thinking about. You know, she's got very complex abilities. She's got a complex game plan. You got a lot of other things to think about. Whereas like with Ula, you are singularly focused on hitting that combo and hitting your skill shots. That's all you have to think about with Ula. The only thing that's difficult about him is the mechanics, which is difficult, but I'm looking at it from a more like broad umbrella perspective, I suppose.
Is anyone who voted on a Wheelix and Ul have never actually played a Wheelix at all. And somebody left a comment.
I played both. I have like 2 or 3 stars on a Wheelix, and I have 1 star on Ula.
On my YouTube video for Ul from yesterday, and they had a good point. And they were like, I guess it's some theory or something, and it's like the bell curve. I guess the bell curve theory, and it's like shit players think like, you know, will think Ul is hard. Average players will say Ul is easy, and then great players will say Ul is hard.
I think this is just a trend for any god, in my opinion, because the thing is, the middle of the bell curve always think they're better than they are. Like, you have the people on the low end of the bell curve that are in, like, bronze and silver, and they know they're trash. So they're like, oh yeah, this god is pretty difficult. I'm pretty bad at the game, and I can't get a handle on it. It's just too difficult for me. The people at the very top of the bell curve think a god is difficult because they actually know it's difficult. You know, they've got a lot of time and experience in the game, and they know what actually makes a god difficult. But then you have the people in the middle who think they're good at the game, but they're kind of not really, and so they're like, oh yeah, this god's easy, dude. I dominate with this god in gold and platinum, but they don't actually really know. Like, I don't even think this is all specific. I think the bell curve probably applies to difficulty in Smite in general, honestly.
And I mean, this kind of, I don't know.
Be honest.
That's what it seems like.
Rapid stance changing and ability
What it sounds like from everybody out here talking about it.
Has some of the highest APM plays of any god in the game.
Ul's 2 and 4 are easy.
Hard to do consistently.
But you just using them doesn't have any inherent value. The 2 and the 4 are only easy if you're using them correctly.
And they're not even that easy, because you got to use them, like, rapidly, like, in the middle of your fucking combo with all the mechanical execution. Like, I will defend Ula to a certain point. Like, he is mechanically very difficult.
If you're just spamming them, it's irrelevant.
Ranges as well, but I really don't think all of that adds up to Ula being harder than the likes of Maui, Tiamat, or Wheelix.
That's insane to me, bro.
That's
a Dunning-Kruger effect. Okay, well, whatever the fuck it is, bro. The dude talking about on YouTube, and it makes sense.
I'm missing here. The top 3 are definitely a cut above the rest here, with Set starting it off. I always have problems putting why Set is difficult into words, but I think anyone who's tried to play him just knows.
No! Okay. let's have a quick little week in school. All right. Set's abilities, okay? Your 1, it hits hard, it slows, and it pushes the 2s around. Your 2s, little clay guys on the ground that get pushed by the 1. 3, makes you take 15% less damage from all sources.
That is why
it does damage in an AoE around you. And you're
scale up, dude. Should be like 3, 6, 9, 12,
makes
15.
you fast. When you do damage, you heal. You do extra. You do extra damage. You literally have 2 abilities that make you run at people. You have an ability that is irrelevant unless you are using 1. You essentially have 1 ability on this god. You have to know how to use 1 ability. The other ones you just fucking.
So, as I mentioned, I do find it hard to put why Set is difficult into words, but I just kind of know he is. I do think he's maybe a tad overrated at, like, number 3 in the entire game, but I think, again, it comes down to, like, Set's game plan is a little bit more complex than just hold left-click W. Like, there are certain gods where their game plan is entirely that. You know, you've got your Kalis, you've got your Arachnes, you've got your Bakikajiras, you've got your, Bakasuras, I suppose. But I think Set is a little bit different. Like, he does really need to know when he can go in, because if you just immediately try and go in with your ult before you've got, like, a lot of the stacks and a lot of the clones down, you're just going to die immediately, because if you're diving into 5 people, you're just going to die immediately before you can get any value, because his ult is very long-term based. You know, you're not going to be shredding people down with Set in, like, literally a matter of 2 seconds. It takes you a while to, like, fully get your damage online with Set. And so I think you have to be a little bit more careful about, like, when you want to go in. Mechanically, yes, he's not very difficult. The only mechanically difficult thing, I guess, is like making sure that your 1 is lined up properly with your clones and stuff like that to get the maximum burst out of it. That's pretty much the only, like, mechanically difficult thing with Set. And I guess some of the teleporting shenanigans where you can get, like, free teleports and stuff like that, but I'm pretty sure it's all bugs. But yeah, I think saying that the Set is easy just because he's a left-click W god is like a little bit of an oversimplification.
Face slam your fucking keyboard. As long as they go up, you're good. There is no thought. There is no, their HP is this, they're positioned here, that you run at people.
Yeah, see, I think there is some.
You just run at people. Set's early game is not rough. You are completely wrong. That is completely incorrect. Set is good throughout the whole game. You have a flat 15% reduction. This is like
I think there's a reason why, like, you don't really see this god very much in low level, but literally this guy sees playing 4 roles in the SPL. It's because he is more difficult than Weak3n's giving him credit.
Only god in the game with a flat reduction at all levels. It's the same. You just rank 1 point in this fucking ability, and you take 15% less damage.
Up to 15.
Period. 0. End of story. You're trolling if you think Set is hard. You are blatantly outing yourself for being bad at the game if you think Set is hard.
I'm shit at the game, dude. What can I say?
When you go all in using the ult, and of course angling skewers to hit as many people as possible is hard to do, but I really do have a hard time explaining why Set is so skill testing. But I do agree that he should be here as someone who's trying to learn.
It is brain comprehension.
Yeah, by being here, I meant being in the top 10. I think at number 3 is a little bit overrated. Like, I think Tiamat is harder than Set. I think Maui's probably pretty close. I think Giannis would be up there. Giannis just completely missed the top 10 in this list, which I have no idea. Like, Giannis is probably harder than Set. Tiamat's definitely harder than Set. Maui is maybe harder than Set.
Testing. Nobody wants to read all this, bro. No one wants to read fucking mini paragraph,
No,
big
I fully
paragraph,
understand
big
what his abilities do. It's not hard for me to comprehend what his abilities do. It's just, I think he has a more complex game plan than Weak3n's giving him credit for.
Then they have to read another paragraph of the passive. Then they have to sync them all up. It's because people don't watch guides. It's because your average fucking player thinks they're big brained and great at everything, and they don't just go learn. If you watch a 5 fucking minute video on every god before you play it, you will be way fucking better and you won't have to read.
At number 2, we have Morrigan, who is of course purely here because of her ultimate, that in theory at least requires you to master every god in the game to use to its fullest potential, making her skill ceiling damn near infinite. Of course, in reality, you probably just need 1 or 2 good transforms that you know to a good enough level on your team or the enemy team to make good use of this ability, but there's always that potential of maximizing this and always having the perfect—
Bro, what's even more troll is fucking it. Jingwei is one of the easiest to play gods in the game. You talked about not dying. Nothing kills Jingwei. The only thing that even semi makes Jingwei rough to play is in a wheel solid. Even then, you don't kill Jingwei.
I completely agree with that. Jingwei will be very similar placement to Wukong on my list. But also, I could make the reverse argument on Weak3n. Like, I think Wukong is literally Warrior Jingwei in terms of being safe. So, like, I think Wukong is just as safe as Jingwei, if not even a little bit more, especially later on in the game, like in late game team fights.
Form for the situation that makes her theoretically—
So the fact that she's wasn't on the lowest is crazy.
She should be on the lowest,
is actually
100%.
not the highest in the game by any means. And finally, the number 1 most skilled god in the entire game, and probably no surprise to anyone, is Yamoja, taking the top spot with a—
I'm fine with Yamoja being like a top 1, 2, or 3.
Of course, Omi
I don't think you can
is one of the
disagree
big
with
things
that.
Separates a new Yamoja from a master, but there's
She's
also
multifaceted
plenty
in her
of things with
difficulty.
abilities themselves.
I actually disagree with that. I think most people suck at Yamoja because they can't physically hit the 1, and they don't ult to lock people in. They aren't capable of ulting to lock people in because it requires positioning.
Again, this feels like he's leaning so heavy on the mechanic side of things, dude. Like, yes, they probably can't hit the 1. Yes, they probably can't hit the ult either, but I also fully believe that bad Yamojas will just not be able to manage their cooldowns. Like, they'll just see that they can spam everything. They will spam everything. They'll get some value out of it, and then they'll literally be useless for 10 seconds while they regenerate Omi, and they can't really do anything. Like, I think that is a large part of it.
Timing.
1 has weird, unique targeters and timing on both forms that take a while to
Alpha,
get
I said
used
the
to
same thing.
properly. Using her 3 to save allies or trap enemies is something that's really hard to get a handle on, and of course using her ultimate in the jungle to get true cages using terrain walls and or her 3 to completely trap enemies is extremely skill testing. You'll immediately notice the difference between even an average Yamoja and a master of the character, and I think that really shows in this ranking. 100% deserved. But that's all I've got for this video. What are your personal thoughts? Do you agree with them?
That's it. Yeah, I'm not.
That's it.
I shout out Intersect, by the way, on YouTube. INTERS3CT.
Shout out Weak3n on Twitch.
He does a lot of videos like that. Yeah, I don't agree with like most of that. I don't know who he pulled, but whoever he pulled, there's a lot of really low level players in there. That's crazy. Tomorrow I'll do a version of that for my own version of that with a tier list. I'll do hardest to play, easiest to play.
Oh, I like that.
Average, I guess, or
I'll be interested to see that.
That is mind blowing. I am genuinely surprised by a lot of those in there.
I was surprised by quite a few as well, to be honest, 100%. But that's why I think it's interesting, these kind of videos. Like, you get to see what the general consensus is, how it differs from your own opinion. And Weak3n weighing in with his thoughts here was really appreciated as well, because now we've got another opinion from a top player that on how this stuff all goes. And he definitely has a different opinion on what makes the god difficult than I do. You know, he's very heavy on the mechanical execution requirements of it, whereas I'm a little bit more broad in terms of, like, is their game plan complex? Do they have a lot to think about? Do they have different play styles and stuff like that? But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this reaction. I did get linked this Twitch clip of Weak3n reacting to my video, and I gave it a watch out. I initially wasn't planning to make a video out of it or anything, but honestly I thought it was very interesting, some of the thoughts that he gave, and I think this kind of topic is made to be talked about, so I thought I would give my own thoughts on this as well as like a little reaction. A little bit more of my own thoughts in this video compared to like the first initial video that I made on my channel, which was looking almost entirely at the data with just a little bit of me chiming in occasionally. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Just thought I would post this to the second channel, and yeah, I will catch you guys in another one tomorrow on Into Games. Peace.